couple weeks ago, my son and I went to the grocery store, and inside the parking lot, there was a bright red 1985 Ford LTD. And I was really excited because that was my first car. It was two-tone blue, $100, and borderline road worthy. But I spent all summer rebuilding it, doing the work, and a lot of what I know about car repair stems from that vehicle. And I was really excited to see one again today because you don't really come across them a lot anymore. And they're not really desirable. My son wasn't impressed with it, and I didn't think he would be. But I told him, I said, maybe when you're my age, you might see a 2011 Jeep Grand Cherokee like this and be excited because that was your dad's car when you were little. Because nostalgia works like that, right? You get nostalgia for things you have an attachment to. Not exactly supercars or very expensive things, but it could just be a emerald green blender that your grandmother had, That's how it is. And as we were talking, it really made me think, well, what's the future of retro tech? What's going to be collectible and desirable 20 years from now?
I think we'd all agree that the Apple IIe is pretty nostalgic, right? It's a proper retro computer. It's a lot of fun, and I think we have a lot of memories attached with it. But it is nostalgic, right? And why is that? Well, let's look at the definition. Nostalgia is a sentimental longing or wishful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. So let me ask you this, because we probably have the same answer. Where is the first time you remember using an Apple II? Well, if you're around my age, probably in school. It was probably in your computer lab at your classroom. I went to 2 elementary schools growing up, and the first one we had in the classroom, Apple IIe's as well as Apple IIc's, and then we had a computer lab with early Macintoshes. It wasn't Compact Macs. I want to say LC. I don't really remember that, but I vividly remember the Apple IIs. And then my second elementary school, we had an entire lab full of Apple II GSs. And one of those GSs is actually the one I have today. And I have a lot of good memories. I would remember playing Oregon Trail with my friends on that 2GS in the lab. I remember playing Math Blasters on the 2E. Those were really good memories of my childhood that I still have today, and I have a connection when I play these machines. Even though this wasn't the 2E I used in school, it was incredibly similar, and I have a lot of those memories coming back. And that nostalgia even transfigures into when we upgraded to Dell Optiplexes, the very generic black Dell Optiplexes, plain Jane machines. But I remember playing Roller Coaster Tycoon on that machine with Luke at the end of the day while we waited for the bus. That was good times. I really enjoyed it. And that's why I have a connection to that boring Dell Optiplex. It's not a great machine, but I liked it. And the story I shared with you about the Ford LTD and the Jeep with my son, we all have connections to certain vehicles, and that's why we like them. And it really made me think, when my kids and your kids are older, 20 years from now, and they have some expendable income to buy old machines and stuff, what computers are they going to be buying? Because my son's computer lab today is vastly different than any computer lab I had growing up. And I truly think that the kids of today are going to be nostalgic for Chromebooks.
No one will want a Chromebook.
Yeah, they will. I'm calling it. They're going to want Chromebooks. And think about it, right? Put it in perspective. A lot of schools across this country, every classroom has a cart full of Chromebooks, and the kids live on it. They have a school account. They do their homework on it. Some of their textbooks are on this, and they use it every day. And mind you, it's not an incredibly powerful machine. Chromebooks aren't designed for it, but I think they're going to look back on it kind of nostalgic, Like if you're my age, you might look back on those blue TI 108 solar calculators. Remember the blue ones with the white and red buttons? They came in that little yellow carrying case. Pretty basic calculator, right? But I love it. I want one. I would love to have that on my desk today and use, because I remember using that in math class as a kid. And even though we had calculators at home, that was really the first time I used a calculator a lot, extensively, and relied on it. And it was that TI 108. And even though I have, as you know, many computers at home of different vintage, I think the computer that my son uses the most is a Chromebook. And as my daughter goes up in age in elementary school, she's going to be using a Chromebook a lot too. And down the road, they're going to look back on this. And I truly think 20, 30 years down the road, there's going to be a market for vintage Chromebooks. That's weird to say, isn't it? Vintage Chromebooks. It might not be as popular as the Apple II, and they might not hold the same value or, retail power as some of other vintage computers of today, but there's going to be a market for it because they grew up with it. And you're probably rolling your eyes, but we have a precedent for it now. Think about it. A lot of the Chromebooks environment is online on Google services. That's the point of a Chromebook, right? And Google has a fantastic track history of dropping products. So at some point in time, the Chromebook and maybe some of the services it rely on is going to reach end of life, and the machine will essentially be a brick at that point. But look at our community now, and look at the skill set and technology and the resources that the average home collector, tinkerer, scientist, engineer, whatever you want to call them, has at their disposal. Now follow me here. It's 2024, and we have people I know, people you might know, who are designing PCBs, creating circuits and hardware for vintage computers, whether it's a Blue SCSI or many other devices. They're creating these to breathe life into these older machines. We're doing that now. We have Blue SCSIs, as I look around the room, Pi 1541s for the Commodore. I got a floppy Emu over there. I have all kinds of really cool accessories for my retro video games over here. Emulation, FPGAs, 3D printing. There's a lot of resources that we have today to breathe life into our vintage machines. And one of the things that comes to my mind is the Sega Dreamcast. There's a community right now that has brought Dreamcast Online back online. So you're playing the Dreamcast games online like you were when those servers were running. Just this week, Nintendo canceled the Wii U servers. So right now, my Wii U can't go online anymore. I can't play Mario Kart or any of the other services. But just a day after Nintendo shut those servers down, the homebrew community is already working. I think they have a solution to get the Wii U back online, playing with other people around the world. So if we're doing that today, well, what are people going to have at their disposal 15, 20 years down the road? Because 15 years ago, to tell somebody that, yeah, I can design a multi-layer PCB at home and get it printed and designed and shipped to my house in less than 2 weeks, wasn't going to happen. But it's happening now. We have a precedent for it. And I truly think that the collectors of future vintage Chromebooks, it's weird to say, are going to have a fun time breathing life into these machines and making them useful. Maybe we'll have a whole month down the road dedicated to Chromebooks.
No one will want a Chromebook.
All right, so we're done talking with Chromebooks now. We're going to move on to something a little less controversial, and that's gaming. I'm going to focus on Nintendo, so that might be another controversy there. But this is my Super Nintendo, and although it wasn't my first console, I think my first one was really a Vectrix. I got it secondhand from my grandfather. Really sad story. Watch a video on that one, but I really consider the Super Nintendo my first console, and this is my original childhood unit. I play the crap out of this thing. I would play with friends. I'd play with my dad. I got a lot of really good memories with this unit and with my original games too, because it was just enjoyable, Playing with my dad, I'd play with my grandmother a little bit. It means a lot to me. There's a lot of sentimental value with this unit, and even with this game, Yoshi's Island. And I would imagine that down the road, my son might have similar feelings for the Nintendo Switch. I play games with him on here. He plays with his friends. There's a direct connection, right? Because I think anytime you play a game, whether it's a board game or a video game with people, you have that relationship and you build that. And it's just good memories all around. And we're at an interesting point because there's a nice generational intersection with the Switch. Take Yoshi's Island, for example. I can play this on my original Super Nintendo, but I can also play it on the Switch. And you still get that same feeling of nostalgia when you do that. And I think that's really perfect for people who don't have a Super Nintendo anymore, or they don't have their original. Maybe they don't want to spend money on a vintage equipment, or they don't have room, or whatever, right? You can get a modern system, whether it's a Switch or any of the other third-party devices that can play these games, illegally or not, and relive a lot of that. And that generational bridge, I think, puts a lot of emphasis on modern consoles like this, because if we can play some of the older games, the games that mean things to people my age, you'd buy it. I know people that buy the Switch just to play vintage Nintendo games on it. There's a big market for that. And arguably, that could be cheaper in the long run than going and buying original equipment and worrying with all the hassle of having an old system and capacitors, dirty games, all the other issues with that. So, yeah, down the road, even video game collecting is going to change. This guy, I don't have much good to say about the PlayStation 3 at all, but like it or hate it, there are younger people who have an affinity because this might have been their first console or their second console, and they played it a lot and they enjoyed the games on it. And down the road, I hope, and this means a lot coming from me because I am critical of this system. I never had any luck repairing PlayStation 3s. But I think down the road, as technology evolves and more home tinkerers get access to better ways to develop boards and better ways of repairing, we're going to see a resurgence in PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4s, Xbox Ones, a lot of these hardware failures we're seeing now, especially with BGA, ball grid array on the motherboard. We're going to have easier ways to repair these in the future in the home. And I think a lot of these consoles are going to extend their life. And to be honest with you, that's part of the reason why I have 3 of these around the house right now. I have no intention of fixing them right now or repairing them, or really no interest in them in general. But I'm holding out an expectant faith that in the future, it'll be much easier and a much higher success rate to repair these at home and get more life out of them for somebody else. So let's get back to Chromebooks real quick.
No one's going to want a Chromebook.
And it doesn't just have to be Chromebooks. It could be middle-of-the-road MacBook Airs. It could be whatever Dell your company provided you for work. I truly think that when people use equipment every day for their job or school, they have a connection with it, good, bad, or indifferent. I remember the first video editing system that I really used and was trained on was a Casablanca Cron, and eventually we got a Prestige, but I still use the Cron, but it doesn't matter. The Casablanca Cron today is useless in almost any video editing environment. Standard definition, I think it was AVN, S-Video. There might have been an option for SCART. I could be wrong on that, but it was standard definition. Had a very small hard drive on it. Decent transitions for the day, but I certainly couldn't use it today for anything. But I want one. I would love to play around with a Cron or a Prestige again. And if I can get that with maybe 2 DVC Pro decks, a U-matic and a broadcast beta deck, that would be that would be slick. I'd have a lot of fun with that because I use that. And I used a lot of that equipment early on when I was working in television. And it means something to me. I'm nostalgic for it because I used it. Just like I think a lot of young people today down the road are nostalgic for Chromebooks because they used them every day. It was probably their first introduction to any computers other than watching their parents check email or, watching Cocomelon on YouTube. There's gonna be connection about this, and think of all the future programmers who may have wrote their first code on a Chromebook. Like you might have wrote your first code in BASIC on a Commodore 64 or an Apple II. You want to relive that today, and I think that's why a lot of us collect these machines. We want to relive something from the past, and this is going to be the past down the road. So do me a favor. Set a reminder for about 20 years, check this video, and see how far off I am. Hopefully I'm right. I'm usually right. In the comments, tell me what you think. Are Chromebooks the future of retro tech? What technology do you think we use today that down the road is going to be desirable? And what will the future unlock for repairing, upgrading, and extending the life of Chromebooks, MacBook Airs, or anything that we're using today? Let me know. Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.
A Chromebook. At this point in history, at this time of day, this area of the country, localized entirely in your kitchen.
Yes.